right, the Seattle Seahawks made big news this week, moving on from Russell Wilson in a big trade, but they're not done potentially with other big moves at the quarterback position. What's the latest out of Seattle?
That's right, Nick. And Corbin K. Smith from Sports Illustrated reported that after orchestrating a blockbuster deal sending 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback Russell Wilson to the Broncos on Tuesday, the Seahawks have shifted their focus towards acquiring another superstar signal caller. As reported by Aaron Wilson of Pro Football Network. First, Seattle has an interest in trading for Houston and star Deshaun Watson, who has an unclear future in the league, to say the least.
Yeah, so a lot of times when you look at a relationship at any kind, especially a business relationship like the Seahawks have had with Russell Wilson, sometimes what you need is a change. They obviously had a lot of success, won a Super Bowl, went to another. But the last few years, the Seahawks have kind of been on a decline. They were one and done a number of years in the playoffs. I think their last playoff win, they beat an Eagles team that was really beat up and really injured on their backup quarterback. They missed the playoffs this year with a losing season. It's time to make a change and head in a new direction. They shipped off Russell Wilson, but now they're making moves for Deshaun Watson. And I think they have to do that because Pete Carroll, he's 70 years old. There's not time for a total rebuild. So they want to make a change, but they don't want to go through a total, completely new rebuild. So the obvious move here is to go after a guy like Watson. And guess what? Thanks to the treasure trove of picks they got for Russell Wilson, they have the assets. I think according to the latest, I think the Seahawks are going to get a first and a second round pick from Denver, and then a first in this year's draft, and a first and second round pick from Denver for next year's draft. Wow. Plus their number 9 overall pick they have this year. So they have the assets just from that trade alone to go after a guy like Watson. So you talk about a change, you talk about a reset. They've got it right now. They have the tools to make it happen.
Absolutely. And okay, here's the difference in Wilson and Watson. Deshaun Watson, even after missing an entire year of football, is still touted as like a top 5 caliber quarterback in the NFL. Russell Wilson, as good as he is, he's a great quarterback. He won a Super Bowl. Never take that away from him. He is not a top 5 guy, especially going on before everyone retired this past season. He is not a top 5 guy in the NFL. There's always been 5 guys that are a little bit better than him. Yeah, he can maybe sneak into that top 10 ranking, I would say. Especially in the last few years, he's declined a little bit. But Deshaun Watson is that new talent. He's still young. He's got a lot of dynamic playmaking left in him. I think he's a little bit better athlete than Russell Wilson was. So I think this is an upgrade for the Seahawks at the quarterback position, and it's something that they have great weapons. They got Tyler Lockett. They have DK Metcalf. It's a really talented offensive group around the ball. So Watson could be something that pushes them over the edge a little bit. You know, they lose Bobby Wagner in the linebacker position, but they're getting younger on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe this is the move they need to spark some new confidence in the team.
So I disagree with you about Wilson. I'm really high on Wilson. I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, legitimate superstar, easy top 5 guy, in my opinion. But what Watson does, right, like I talked about, it allows for a reset. Because there were a lot of rumors and talks that Wilson and Metcalf were feuding. They weren't getting along. That Wilson and Pete Carroll were starting to not get along. And that, there was a lot of, maybe some ungrateful feelings towards Russell Wilson. Maybe Wilson was feeling underappreciated. And when you have that kind of environment in a team, it just doesn't work. You just need to make a change. You saw that happen with Brady and the Patriots. Brady moved on to a lot of success. And the Patriots have rebuilt with Mac Jones, and they're doing fine. And I think that's the kind of move here the Seahawks are angling for. And here's the other side of it. Seattle, as good as they've been the last decade or so, they're still kind of the forgotten team in the NFL. They're all the way up in the Pacific Northwest. They got the West Coast bias thing because all the media on the East Coast. If you're Deshaun Watson, assuming that he gets cleared of all these allegations, he's still going to face a lot of negative publicity, a lot of issues. There's going to be a lot of questions. What better place to kind of get away from the big media centers in the country than the Pacific Northwest and Seattle, and kind of just focus on, trying to rebuild and relaunch his career. I think it's a great fit for both teams. And again, these picks and assets that the Seahawks got in this trade can slide perfectly right into Houston, and it'll get Houston exactly what they want to. This just seems like the best option so far for both parties.
Yeah, and I really like the point you said. It's like a smaller market team and it being a big team still. So that's a good aspect. And yes, he does have to make through the legal troubles first. And we can disagree whether Wilson's top 5 or not. That's yet to be said. I'm sure everyone has their other opinions. But at the very least, I think we both can agree Watson isn't a downgrade at the quarterback situation for them. So if he comes in, he does great. I think this is an opportunity for both of them. Say Watson gets to play. He can prove that he is that top 5 guy like people are thinking he is. And for Wilson, if Wilson goes to Denver and he plays well there, that cements his legacy as well. So I think in the end, Seattle wins big time for trading Wilson for a bounty of draft picks. If they can get Watson, even though it's slightly risky at this point in time, they want to invest a little bit into him. I think it's high risk, high reward with Watson, and it's something that can really possibly take you back to another Super Bowl.